Welcome back, everyone. Today we are reacting to Piers Morgan's latest debate with Canadian journalist Aaron Maté and the extremely intelligent IDF spokesman Jonathan Conricus, who we have spoken about in length in previous videos. Let's get started.
Yes, on the issue of the death toll in Gaza, the State Department has long relied on the figures supplied by the Health Ministry. The only people who do not are people who are seeking to justify one of the worst crimes in human history, which is Israel's mass murder campaign in Gaza. If anything, the Gaza Health Ministry's figures are too low, because how can you possibly have a full accounting of the death toll when Gaza Strip has been decimated by Israeli bombardment and so many people are still buried under the rubble? So personally, I feel that even to debate this issue is to lose one's humanity, just as it would be to debate the death toll by the Nazis during the Holocaust. I want to address some other falsehoods. Jonathan said that Palestinians have walked away from all these generous peace offers submitted by Israel. Israel has never accepted the fundamental premise accepted by the entire world, except for the US, that Palestinians have the right to a state in the West Bank in Gaza. 22% of their historic homeland. The rest was stolen by Israel. That's why, for example, just take one famous case. Palestinians are often blamed for walking away from a so-called generous peace offer at Camp David in July 2000. That's the peace offer that everyone likes to cite for why Palestinians have turned down this prospect of a state. Well, even the Israeli foreign minister, who transmitted that offer, Shlomo Ben-Ami, he later said, if I were Palestinian, I would have rejected Camp David as well. That's because he recognized that the Israeli offer would have kept all of Israel's major West Bank settlement blocks that make a Palestinian state impossible without offering Palestinians an equal land swap inside Israel. So Israel's never given Palestinians an offer that even someone willing to make a massive compromise, accepting just 22% of their historic homeland, could take. So this idea that Palestinians have walked away from a peace deal, it's just used to justify mass murder and aggression. And that's why during the years of the so-called peace process, the years of the Oslo Accords, Israeli settlements doubled in the occupied territories. How is it you're going to claim you're offering Palestinians peace while meanwhile building up the illegal settlements that make a Palestinian state in just 22% of their homeland impossible? That's a contradiction that no one can ever answer for, because this claim that Palestinians have been offered a contiguous state is simply a lie.
Aaron is on fire here, raising a number of very valid points. The death toll as it stands in Gaza is 45,000. Aaron raises a good point. If anything, the Gaza Health Ministry figures are too low. Gaza has been decimated to the point where large areas are inaccessible. The official UN news website states approximately 10,000 are feared to be buried under the rubble. Next up, Piers asks Jonathan if there are any areas or points of agreement he has with Aaron. I'm going to speed this up as Jonathan rambles on a bit.
All right, Jonathan, let me ask you a different way into this. When you listen to Aaron there, and you listened to him many times before, I've listened to both of you many times before, what I would love to see is that there is an appreciation between you of some points of common ground, some basic things that you could find yourselves able to agree to.
Yes, I wish we would be able to see that going forward. The proposal was for 8% of the and I think it's very much
Instead of answering such a basic question, Jonathan gives us a fantastic performance, going on a tantrum, talking about Israel defending themselves, having the right to defend themselves, etc., etc. If you're really interested in what Jonathan had to say, you can watch it on the Piers Morgan Show.
On the point about Camp David, this might seem for some people like a historical aside, but it's very important because it shows the lie that Palestinians have ever been offered a meaningful opportunity for their own state. Yes, Bill Clinton did say that Palestinians were offered this generous deal. Bill Clinton, though, has lied many times, including most infamously with his personal Monica Lewinsky scandal. But Bill Clinton has also said before he would take a bullet for Israel, he would go volunteer in the army and die in a ditch for Israel, even though he's a draft dodger when he was called to serve in Vietnam. So that speaks to Bill Clinton's bias here. And you don't have to listen to me. Robert Malley, who served under Bill Clinton, who was there at Camp David, he said the Palestinian position was simply having a contiguous state in the West Bank and Gaza. Israel never offered them that. And that's why I'll say it again. Shlomo Ben-Ami, the Israeli foreign minister who transmitted the Camp David offer, he said, if I were Palestinian, I would have rejected Camp David as well. That applies to all so-called Israeli offers because they've never given Palestinians the chance to have a state, even in just 22% of their historic homeland. Israel instead insists on building up these massive West Bank settlement blocks that make a Palestinian state impossible, that make Palestinian life impossible, that swallow up all the valuable land, all the water, while not offering Palestinians even a recognition of their right to return to their homes from which they were expelled in 1948. To find agreement, Palestinians have found it already. They've accepted a huge compromise. They accepted in 1988 Israel within its pre-1967 borders. That's the historic compromise you're looking for, Piers. It's Israel, by insisting on its self-proclaimed right to settle what it calls Judea and Samaria, which is the West Bank. It's them that have undermined any opportunity for a peace deal. And to enforce that, that's why they're now carrying out mass murder in Gaza, to wipe out any resistance to Israel, to actually build up new settlements inside Gaza, if we believe some Israeli officials, because they don't see Palestinians as equal human beings. They've stolen their land, and that's not enough. Now they want to wipe them out for good and displace as many people as possible. And you cannot make peace with a state that has that mentality. For there to be peace, Israel will have to fundamentally rethink its foundational commitment to occupation and supremacy.
Wow, a lot there to take in, and he makes fantastic points. He starts off by talking about the Bill Clinton scandal, and if you don't know what that is, just Google it. It's funny how Israeli spokespersons eventually give reference to some source. It tends to be one that's not credible at all. Aaron mentions land grab, and in 1948, 77% of land was lost to the Palestinians in 1 year alone. And that number has been on the rise ever since.
That Iran's main purpose over the last 20 years or so has been to stir up as much aggravation as they possibly can through their proxy groups against Israel.
I don't see any state as a force for good. I see states acting in their own interests and responding to events or initiating them. In the case of the Middle East, I don't see Iran as being the main malign actor. I give that distinction to the US and its proxy Israel, who have been terrorizing the region to advance their own supremacy. Just look at the Iraq War. That was done at the behest of people like Benjamin Netanyahu, who promised that there would be freedom and democracy in the Middle East if the US took out Saddam Hussein. We all know what happened there. In the case of Iran and Israel, look, Iran is on record a few years ago. They supported a resolution from a group of Islamic states endorsing what we were discussing before, the two-state solution, where Israel gets to keep the land that it stole, except for 22% of Palestine, which is the West Bank and Gaza. Iran endorsed that. Israel has never accepted that because Israel wants to steal as much Palestinian land as it wants. So on that issue right there of a two-state solution, it's Iran that is actually more accommodating than Israel is.
Fantastic points there from Aaron and throughout the debate, so well done. He talks in length about the land grabs, how Israel and any other state is fighting for their own best interest, and hats off to him for showing the double standards and hypocrisy within Israel and explaining it was in fact Iran who favoured a two-state solution, which was rejected by Israel as they wanted to illegally occupy more and more. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.